I would like to report a criminal book that to the police out there. If you're law enforcement, you need to be very much aware of this. This is a very dangerous book that I'm going to be showing, and incredibly dangerous. And I'll show you the quote, and I'll let you read it for yourself, okay? You can make up your own mind. This is the book right here. Talmud, there are 24 volumes of this, and it's an extremely evil book.
I would like to report a Christian idiot of the most extreme variety, a KJV bumbling dimwit who is going around spreading lies about the Jewish people. The same lies that resulted in one of the most horrible events ever in history to happen to any group of people. And this individual is perpetuating those lies just like happened in the 20th century to my people. Shalom, my friends, and welcome to another video where we debunk the lies of this Christian excuse for a human, born-again barbarian. He put out this video around the same time that he put out the other video that I did debunking his position on all sorts of things. This is the one that I did just the other day. Christian ignoramus accidentally debunks the virgin birth. Check that out. And this is the same sort of Amalek energy that you had in the previous video, except even more to this degree. So a lot of you might be asking in the comment section, Yehuda, why are you approaching this? This is such how do you expect to convince people with this amount of hate and ignorance to understand? I'm actually going to try to attempt to explain these types of things to people that are actually willing to listen. And I think you're going to like my approach. I'm going to use this from the approach of, showing the context. I'll even show the context from what ChatGPT has to say, and then we'll just use our brains, right? In case you aren't able to do that, that's why I'm going to be using ChatGPT, just in case you can't comprehend the basic knowledge, which I'm sure this individual cannot do. Anyway, moving on with the video.
And the people that are into this are very evil people, okay? Let me show you what we have here. This will be page, bookmark here, page 76, okay? Right there, I'm going to show you with my overhead camera set up so you can actually see it and read it for yourself. All right, here we have page 76. I'm not even going to read this. You can pause this and read it for yourself. This is not some kind of a thing of it's just poetic or just whatever else. You're reading something right here. They are giving ages of less than 3 years old is not liable for punishment in this system right here. All right, so you can read this whole thing here. Hopefully that comes in nice and clear for you. And I have a few things I'd like to say about this.
All right, so let's go to the source. So this comes from Sanhedrin in the Talmud 54. Well, so the beginning of the page, right, Sanhedrin 54b says, we have learned the punishment for these, you can read it on the screen, right? From where is this prohibition derived? The verse states, and you shall not lie with a male as with a woman, it is an abomination. This literally is quoting from the Torah, Leviticus 18:22, right? And then it says, we have learned from here that the prohibition for one who engages in these relations actively. From where do we derive the prohibition for one who engages in these actions passively? The verse states, there shall not be a sodomite among the children of Israel. So clearly it is stating that there is something that is wrong about these actions, right? And another verse cited to clarify from the meaning of the term Kaddish. And there were also sodomites in the land. They did according to all the abominations of the nations that drove them out before the children of Israel. This is a statement of Rabbi Yishmael, right? So clearly this is speaking about the prohibition of male-to-male relations. All right? That is clearly the context of the chapter. Rabbi Akiva says it is not necessary to derive this halacha from the verse. So there's a dispute, right? A debate. There shall not be a sodomite. Rather, it says, he's saying there's a different source for where this prohibition comes from. And you shall not lie, tishkav, with the male as with the woman. Read into the verse, you shall not enable your being lain with, so passively by a male, right? So they're just debating about what is the source of why you're not, how does the prohibition of not lying with another man, a man lying with another man, where is the sources of this? That's all this is, right? And the implications of, whether it's passive, whether it's active, because the rabbis actually care about following the Torah, right? And understanding the implications of what this means. So it says, the Gemara asks, from where do we derive that one, and then it's talking about the animals, and it's saying these types of, where do these sources of these types of things come from, right? And it says, the phrase shall be put to death refers to execution by stoning. Right? So now they're discussing the punishments for doing these types of abominable acts, right? Do not say they are executed, or that is... So that is the context of punishment here, right? So it's saying that the punishment is stoning. So now let's go back to this video, which is paused, and it says, let's read this. It says, Rav said, the means of, with these relations with a child less than 9 years old is not treated like with a child over 9 years old. So they're talking about what are the implications of the passive versus the active versus, what if you had somebody who was a very young child who committed this act? Would they be liable for the death penalty, right? Are they under the status of, God forbid these types of things happen, right? So, yeah, and you can see it. If we go down to the verse, let's see, what exact verse is this? Right, so this is really all this is discussing, right? It's simply saying that there's punishments for doing these types of things, and it's trying to discuss what the implications of that would be. That's what this is. That's what the Talmud does. If you're not familiar with these types of conversations, you might, like this idiot Christian here, assume that this means that this is permitting these types of actions, right? And here it is right here. What do you do? Rav Shmuel and disagree. So it's talking about disagreements about what is the passive, what is the active, who gets the death penalty, right? That's the context of this chapter, right? That's where it talks about this 9-year-old. That's where it's talking about the context of older than 3, less than 3, right? So that is what this is, right? So, in today's society, for example, right, if a 15-year-old, person engaged in relations with somebody who was 21 years old, there would be a penalty for that. It wouldn't necessarily be the death penalty, but there would be some sort of penalty. So this chapter is talking about the death penalty in context here. That is the punishment. How is that meted out? What are the qualifications for that? That's what this is about. Now, I'm going to give you another example of something, in case this isn't sinking in for you, right? How this works. I'm going to give you another example from Bava Kama 27, right? So here, it's talking about a hypothetical scenario. It says, if one threw a child from a roof and a forewarned ox came along and impaled the child on its horns and the child died, the question of whether or not the owner of the ox is liable to pay ransom is dependent on the dispute between Rabbi Ishmael and the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka and the rabbis, as it is taught, right? And he shall give a redemption of his life, right? Exodus 21:30. So once again, they're citing a verse from the written Torah and discussing the implications of what would happen. And it's talking about paying monetary value, right? The punishment is paying monetary value for this thing that happened, this scenario. And they're discussing the implications of that. But if you're an idiot, like this person, right, you might be thinking the Talmud permits this, right? If you're dumb, right, and you want to, or you're just a lying piece of excrement, right, you might come to that conclusion. Let's keep reading, right? It says, Rabbah says another similar halacha. If a man fell from a roof while falling was inserted into a woman due to the full force of the fall, meaning like literally unintentional coitus with her, but he did not have he wasn't intending to, it was an accident, right, to engage in intercourse with her, he is liable to pay, once again, a punishment for an unintentional sin of falling into a woman. Now, let me ask you this question in all good faith, right? What are the chances of this ever having happened in history? Slim to none. If this ever happened in history, I mean, I'd say this is about as likely as a virgin giving birth and it not being due to some, other explanation, right? Obviously, I say that tongue in cheek because it didn't happen, all right? This isn't something, if it did happen, then this was like a one-time event, right? Not like the virgin birth of Jesus was anything, right? Like, not to give any sort of validity to that. I'm being facetious here. This never happened. Let's be honest with ourselves. This is a hypothetical scenario that the rabbis are deriving to make a point to say, if this were to happen, this would be the punishment. Same thing is going on here. If this were to happen, right? If for whatever, God forbid, a 9-year-old did something like this to somebody, or, what would be the consequences? Do you stone that 9-year-old, or these are the types of questions that are being asked here. Now, you can say, oh, you're just a Talmudic Satanist Jew. You're just trying to make excuses for the Talmud here, right? Okay, here's a webpage by another Talmudic Jew who explains all of these, types of things. This is a really important webpage for you guys to know about. If anybody brings up these types of libelous charges against the Talmud or the Jewish people or anything, this is such an important website. I'm going to put the link in the description, right? It's called The Talmud, The Real Truth About the Talmud by Rabbi Gil Student. So important for everyone to know about. And it talks about all these things. When people say that the Talmud permits killing Gentiles, that lie, right? Or the idea that, sexual morality, in the Talmud, like basically saying that the Talmud permits, relations with a 3-year-old, right? These types of things. This is probably the most infamous one that you will see floating around all over the place, right? Once again, it's the same scenario. They're discussing the implications of a dowry. They're not saying this is permitted, that, this is something that we do. And I'll ask you this question. How many marriages have you seen rabbis perform on 3-year-old girls? None, because we don't do this. This isn't something that's ever been done, right? Once again, these scenarios are not scenarios that we're saying happen, right? I don't know if anybody cares to keep the Torah and cares to understand throughout the history of the past 2,000 years of Jews who actually care about keeping the Torah, actually care about keeping the Sabbath, right? You see all sorts of nuances in, monetary compensation of when somebody does something to somebody else, if they steal something, what is the, measure for measure punishment? Sometimes punishment is death in the case of when there's a Sanhedrin, right? When there was a, and Christians, a lot of Christians are very, pro that. Okay, so you're going to look at the Talmud and take it out of context and say that it permits these types of things? So we're going to go to ChatGPT, right? Because obviously you can't trust these Talmudic Jews, right? So I'm going to ask a question. Oh, I already asked this question earlier, but I'm going to ask it again. Okay, right? I asked this in ChatGPT just to see what it would say, right? I asked whether or not the Talmud permits sexual relations with someone that age, right? So let's ask this question again. Does the Talmud permit with a or anyone. We can just say it. We don't have to specify what it is, right? I'm just going to ask the generic question and see what it says. No, it does not. It strictly forbids any form of sexual abuse, including minors. Some people misinterpret or take out of context discussions in the Talmud, particularly Sanhedrin 54b and Ketubot 11a, which analyze legal consequences of various actions, which I just said. So in case you're a stupid, vile human being, Christian or otherwise, that wants to misinterpret this and claim that, all these Talmudic Jews are making excuses for this here, even though we have clear implication, clear understanding of what this is. No, I did it in ChatGPT. You can ask it on your own and see what it has to say. These discussions do not endorse or permit such behavior, but rather examine legal and moral aspects within Jewish law, often to determine punishment for offenders. Jewish law and tradition have always condemned any form of child abuse. Any claim suggesting otherwise is a misrepresentation of the text. Of course, in the comments section, Zionist control, go pray to your pagan baby Jesus. And we've given you all the evidence in every way possible, beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's all on you now. You can want. So we'll finish the rest of this piece of excrements video.
Now I'm a Christian, okay? And my Bible doesn't have anything at all like that in it. And if you try to say that the Bible teaches things like that, no, it doesn't. You're either very ignorant or you're a liar. Jesus Christ taught that if any offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone be hanged about his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. That's what the Bible teaches. Okay, you don't offend little children. But you see this horribly evil system of the Talmud right here. There are rabbis in this country that teach this. They take 7 years to take gullible young people, many of whom aren't even Jews. They just are Jews in name only, Genos, and they teach them this stuff. Actually sit down and show this stuff to them. And you had the rabbi there that did one of the prayers at Trump's inauguration. He's a Talmud scholar.
Oh no, a Talmud scholar. Oh my goodness. He actually cares about what the Torah says and wants to understand it in the context of actually keeping it. Unlike you, who claim that the Torah was done away with because your false Messiah fulfilled it, even though he never had any children. When Genesis, the book of Genesis says to have children, we can come up with all sorts of reasons as to why he didn't do that, but I guess you have a different understanding of what fulfillment means. You can spiritualize that and make up your nonsense circular reasoning that Jesus fulfilled things that he didn't even do, even the commandments that relate to females. That's why that doesn't make any sense, right? Anyway.
Teaches at an institute that teaches this stuff. And I just showed you. Pedophilia, right in the pages, just crystal clear. There's
crystal clear, right? Crystal clear. Like I said, you can mistrust everything that I say because I'm this horrible Talmudic Jew, right? You can ignore everything here that, it says on the Real Truth About the Talmud website. ChatGPT. Oh, it's controlled by Zionists. Elon Musk is a Zionist. Yeah, okay. You can't reason with logic with these idiots. But for those that are willing to listen, right? The point of this isn't to convince this barbarian idiot. The point is to show the real truth to people that are actually willing to listen.
No questions about it. And they're saying there's no punishment for that.
No, they're not saying there's no punishment for that. They're saying there's no death penalty for that. You idiot.
You can do that. They say, well, you need to talk to a rabbi about the Talmud before you actually try to study it. Okay.
Yeah, you do. You do, actually. But you don't care what they have to say because you're a lying piece of excrement.
police officers out there, maybe you should start to look at these rabbis. Maybe
you should start to look at your false religion that teaches horrible things about Jews. How do you think I felt when I was walking to school with my best friend who told me I was going to die in an eternal hellfire because I didn't believe in your false pagan man-god Messiah, and because I was raised as a Jew and he was learning these horrible things about me in his church? Oh, you don't have any empathy for that because you believe literally every single Jew who rejects your false Messiah will burn in an eternal hellfire. That's what you believe. You think you have the moral high ground? You really think that? Like Candace Owens over here? Who do you think you are, Kanye West? You really think you have the moral high ground here? Really? Like, churches don't, that's why, Candace Owens is a Catholic. I always bring up the hypocrisy here, right? We know what goes on in the Catholic Church, right? Every religious institution has bad apples or bad fruits, as Christians are obsessed with fruits. It's fine. It's an analogy I don't have a problem with. It's in the Bible, great. But Christians are really obsessed with fruits for some reason. Great. Know them by their fruits. Yeah, the Catholic Church, if you want to, use your false Messiah's words, broken clock, right twice a day. This is what this is. It's projection of the highest order. And you guys, a lot of people think like, why are you so harsh, Yehuda? Why do you put, a lot of Christians are probably like, why are you so harsh against this guy? Be nice, right? And, why are you so harsh to Dr. Michael Brown and Radar Apologetics? Because that's one way of distorting the Talmud, right? To try to convince Jews to believe in their false pagan man-god Messiah. But then there's these types of people who literally say that, in this video here, he was looking at a Messianic Bible and trying to say that it was satanic. Even Jews that believe in his false Messiah, he's labeling satanic. And I know I'm going to get 1,000 comments in the comment section. Oh, they're not real Christians. Oh, he's not a real Christian. Yeah, I mean, this is a real expression of Christianity. Don't excuse this. Don't pretend like this isn't inspired by the false New Testament. The only time that I will use, the New Testament is, anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish is if you're going to use the Talmud first and draw first blood and claim that I'm some sort of satanic person or that my people or literally every single rabbi that studies the Talmud and believes in having some sort of divine authority over the way that we live our lives today, right? You're opening up Pandora's box because your New Testament says some horrible things about Jews in ways that you can't even imagine, right? If you're a Jew and you've never read the things that it says about Jews in the New Testament, right? It's abhorrent, right? So he already opened Pandora's box, and rest assured, you'll see the hypocrisy of what he believes about Jews, all Jews. And I know Christians are going to say, oh, it's only specific Jews. Well, he already used the Talmud out of context, so let's hold him to his same standard regarding his New Testament. Anyway.
You start to look at that Jewish community, if there is one in your area. You get a synagogue and you say, hey, are you guys tied in with the Talmud? You believe in the Talmud? Oh, yes, we hold the Talmud in very, very high regard. It's a very, Hashem inspired it or something like this. Well, you just saw something from it. I didn't say anything hateful about people that are Jewish or whatever, or claim to be.
Oh, really? You just said our entire religion is satanic. Go worship your pagan false baby Jesus idol. Please, please. Yeah. Oh, that was hateful. Yeah. Don't put lipstick on a pig. Don't spit on me and tell me it's raining. Stop being some sort of Candace Owens, I'm just asking questions, little nitwit.
Jewish? I didn't say anything of the kind. I'll let you read it yourself. I didn't insinuate or anything else. It's right there. You read it.
You read it out of context, and you're going to get your just desserts. Just you wait. By the end of the video, we're going to show and expose the falsehood and hate of your false Messiah and your false New Testament.
All right? There's a thing of freedom of religion, which I agree with. Liberty of conscience, absolutely. I agree completely with that. But we're not dealing with something there that should be allowed in a free society. And if you have little children in an area that surrounds one of these places that teaches this garbage, now you know why these children are acting a little funny or whatever else, or there's some,
I hope you hold the Catholic Church to the same standards that you're unfairly accusing the Jews, literally every Jewish institution ever in America, right? Because literally this is foundational upon our religion. So we're going to hold, like I said, we're going to hold your take, like, as your false Messiah would say, who's, right, broken clock right twice a day, take the proverbial plank out of your eye. Projection of the highest order in the most hypocritical way.
Molestation type of things going on. See, it's one thing for a man to get into some really dark pornography and he gets worse and worse and worse until it ends up with, children. But it's another thing when a man is taught that by his religion. Okay? You can read from Genesis to Revelation in this King James Bible right here. You'll never get anything about it's okay to have relations with little children. Never.
And you won't get that in the Talmud either. You just won't. But because you don't understand and you're either just a lying piece of excrement or you're just too dumb to understand, right? I did the dirty work for you. But anyway, get ready because your New Testament's going to be exposed very soon.
Ever. I've been through the whole Bible many times. I've preached it for years and years. Nearly 20 years full time I've been preaching this book. There's not one word in here about molesting children. All right? But you read this Talmud right here, this filthy garbage right here, and it just, you saw it. Okay? I didn't make it up. You saw it. It's not some quote in a book about the book. No, I just showed you in the book. You read it for yourself. So.
And you literally worship a false Messiah who never had any children, never fulfilled the commandment of having children. Like I said, you can speculate why, even though he was 30 years old and not married. And I don't know, maybe there's a little projection going on there. You can come to your own conclusions, okay? Here's the deal. You've been exposed for being a hypocritical liar, right? I gave you the context of everything. You're going to deny. Okay, so now we're going to hold you to that same standard.
Police, if you're out there, anybody in law enforcement, if you hear that there's a child that's been molested or something, parents come to you or whatever else, I will tell you, if you're smart, you will look into this as a connection. Well, let me ask you some questions, ma'am. Get your book out if you still do that or whatever else, and you say, what is your religion? If they say, well, we're Jewish. Do you have a rabbi then? Yeah. Okay. Has your rabbi been taught by a Talmudic? Is he a Talmudic scholar or the Talmud? What's he think about the Talmud? Well, yeah, he teaches Talmud down at the Torah Institute or something like that. Okay. I mean, I'm being very serious here. That could be a criminal connection. They're taught in the Talmud that it's perfectly fine to have the I word with little children.
What did we just read? What did we just... Look, this is literally from Leviticus 18, right? 22, it says, this is the halacha concerning this, right? We're talking about the idea behind... So here's the halacha. It means Jewish law, right? A man who had relations with a man, right? From where is the warning? A person having relations with a male? You shall not... It's literally saying this is against the Torah. It doesn't say that this is condoned in any way, shape, or form. You can read all about it. This isn't something that says it's permitted. And I showed you in ChatGPT, right? It does not permit this. For you idiots without a brain, you can put it in here and you can see what you get. I'm not saying ChatGPT is the end-all, be-all of everything, but hey, I gave you the sources. I showed you. You can look at this website here. Like I said, it explains any of these, things about these horrible things that people accuse the Talmud of saying that aren't true. all here on this website. I'll put the link in the description. Anyway, let's finish this piece of excrements video, and then we're going to expose the New Testament for its false lies.
Okay, and it's not just boys, it's girls too. Okay, which I've showed in my other studies on the Talmud. Very dark, very satanic movement, this Talmudic Judaism stuff. And a lot of Jews, they don't have anything to do with it. They write it in the comments. They say, I'm a Jew. I don't think anything of the Talmud. We're not for it. Good. I'm glad that you still have a conscience, that you haven't seared your conscience like these Talmudic ones have. So please beware. Be very careful. If you have a synagogue in your area, if they're tied to the Talmud, that's the stuff that they're studying. That's going to be it. Please take heed to my words. Thank you for watching.
So this piece of excrement, once again, very hypocritical, right? He literally believes in the ideas of, the protocols of the elders of Zion, which literally resulted in one of the worst atrocities against the Jews that happened in the 20th century. You all know what I'm talking about.
Did you ever hear about these conspiracies about the Jews running the whole world? Kind of like this book right here, They get into this kind of thing of the Jews want to run all the world governments and everything else. I'm going to debunk that today by showing you one of the conspiracy books that's out there that talks about Jews ruling the world and everything. Let me show you some of this stuff here on my overhead camera.
Look, it's the Talmud again, because once again, this piece of excrement wants to perpetuate the same lies that led to the 6 million of my people being just where he wants, right? And he probably believes that all of those people, because they didn't believe in his false Messiah, are burning in an eternal hellfire. So, knowing this, right, we can go to his false New Testament, right? Here's what Jesus, right, his false Messiah, has to say about Jews, right? This is from the false King James Bible that he says is the perfect word of God. Ye are of your father the devil, right? He's talking to the Jews, right? He says, this is a conversation where he's talking to the Jews, right? It says they answered him, right? And so I know what a lot of Christians are going to say. Well, he's only speaking to the Jews here that wanted to hurt him, right? That wanted him stoned, right? So it was a very specific subset of Jews, right? Well, I'm going to treat the New Testament the same way that this barbarian piece of excrement treats the Talmud, and I'm going to say, well, no, he believes, and clearly he does, because he literally believes Messianic Jews are satanic. So he believes the same, and I proved that in this video, where he says that the stern Messianic Bible is written by satanic Jews, right, even though they believe in his false Messiah and false God. So he would interpret this verse to refer to not just the Jews there who were rejecting Jesus, but also just any Jew, right? He says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So, once again, this is a true expression of Christianity that this barbarian piece of excrement follows and believes that all Jews, even if they're Messianic, apparently are of the devil. So, yeah, that's real nice. Then you have 1 Thessalonians 2, right? King James Version, right? And it says, this is, looks like this is speaking concerning Paul, right? He's speaking to, about Jews. And he says, for ye, brethren, became followers of the churches of God in Judea, are in their false Messiah. For ye have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they of the Jews. There it is, right? Who both killed Jesus and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not God, but are contrary to all men, right? So when you hear Christians say, it was the Romans that killed Jesus, it wasn't the Jews, you're innocent for this, right? Or they'll say things like, no, we're all guilty. It wasn't just you, we're all guilty. No, the New Testament, the false New Testament, explicitly blames the Jews, right? For all time, the Jews. It doesn't say just specific Jews here or just specific Jews there. All Jews are blamed for this, right? Once again, this piece of excrement believes, this barbarian believes, that all Jews are going to die in an eternal hellfire, right? Perhaps even the Messianic Jews, like the new Messianic Bible that he spoke about in this video here, right? He didn't even give them any sort of what, but who cares, right? He still believes that all rabbinic Jews are going, right? And then, of course, the famous Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, right? I know thy works, thy tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are the Jews, but are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. We're all familiar with this piece of trash, right? So why are you so frustrated about Jews, right, having views about... I'll give you an example of somebody who is very frustrated about... so this is Dan Bilzerian, one of the most famous pieces of excrement, very Kanye West-esque. And Kanye West is literally unabashedly going around wearing swastikas, right? Like it isn't even like a problem, right? This is real. You can't deny this, right? This is literally like bringing on the same horrible things that happened to Jews in the past. So this is a real problem. So here's his excuse for it on Piers Morgan. This is the infamous interview you're probably all familiar with.
About them and nobody cares, but if you say anything about Jewish people, you get canceled. They, look what they did to Kanye. I mean, so why are they such a protected class? Let me ask you that.
I don't know. I mean, Kanye West was going around literally saying that he praised, Schmittler, right? The mustache man, right? I don't know. I don't know. Like, he was literally going on a Super Bowl commercial advertising a swastika. I think Jews should just take that lying down, right? We shouldn't do anything about that. I don't know. Yeah. Just nothing wrong with that. This aged beautifully, right? I really hope you still stand by your reprehensible moral compass, Dan Bilzerian.
I don't think they are. I think they're a class that get targeted by people like you, and indeed by Kanye, who spewed horrible anti-Semitic nonsense. But yours, it seems to me, to be more insidious, because you're literally blaming...
You're literally blaming... With respect, let me finish. Not the other way around?
You're literally blaming Jewish people for almost everything that's happened that you don't like in the world. That is the purest personification of anti-Semitism right there. That's what it is.
Well, when you have a religion that promotes supremacy, when you have a religion that says that you are better than other people, and when you have a religion that says it's okay to steal from other people as long as they're not Jewish, when you have a religion that says...
So all of those things are false, what he said, right? You can go to this page here, right? There's nothing about, we're not allowed to steal from Gentiles, right? This is, you can go here once again to debunk that, this lying piece of filth's, words against Jews. And also it's hypocritical, right? Because you think Christians, all religions, when you think about it, claim superiority over the other religion, right? Christians believe all the Jews are going to hell for not believing in Jesus. Muslims believe, obviously they believe that they're superior to other religions, right? It's a very non-argument, very hypocritical position to be in to claim this. And if you ask Christians, like, what's going to happen when the supposed resurrection, of Jesus, like when he comes back, as they believe, right? What's going to happen to all the believers? Well, they believe they're going to be ruling alongside Jesus in this millennial kingdom or whatever they call it, right? That's all in the book of Revelation, right? You think they don't believe that they're going to be superior to those who don't believe in their false pagan man god? They're going to get... You ask them, the Christians in the comments, do you believe you're not going to have a new resurrected body in the times of when your false Messiah Jesus comes back, and that you're going to be superior to those who didn't believe? Literally the other people who... Me as, a Jew who rejects your false Messiah and false God, Jesus, do you think you claim you're going to have eternal life and I'm going to go to hell and burn in an eternal hellfire? But that's not superiority. No. You have the moral high ground, like Candace Owens, right? Jewish people, right? Jewish supremacy. Yeah. take the proverbial plank out of your eye. You're a false Messiah. That's probably my favorite Jesus quote, right? I mean, Jesus just stole ideas from rabbis anyway and just repackaged them. But, and like, oh, wow, he's so amazing. Like, he just sort of like plagiarized from the rabbis of his day, and everyone seems to praise him for whatever. Anyway.
Says it's okay to rape people that aren't Jewish when you have a religion that talks about having sex with, kids that are under 3 years old. When you have a religion that promotes these things and promotes supremacy, I think you're going to have problems. And you see that in Israel. Israel is a manifestation of that religion. And I think that religion is, it's terrible. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy at all. And right now, I think you have massive...
Then I hope you're not a Christian, because literally Christians believe that all people that, not just Jews, but anybody that doesn't believe in Jesus is going to burn in eternal hellfire. That's the real conspiracy here. Like, I mean, if you want to say, like, the majority of the world is Christian, right? Or Muslim, like the Jews, whatever. Like, but at least we don't believe you're going to an eternal hellfire, right? That's not really what we believe, right? But watch what he has to say.
Of Jewish supremacy.
You sound like a Nazi.
I mean, why do you say that?
That's literally what Nazis would have said in World War II. They would have literally articulated their hatred of Jewish people and the reasons why in exactly the way you've just done.
I don't have a hatred for Jewish people.
You do.
I don't like a religion that says that they're better than other people. What's that?
Well, you do. You obviously do. It's blatant. No one watching this will draw any other conclusion. I'm staggered about how brazen you've been.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't like it when people think they're better than other people. And you see that in Israel, and they're acting like that, and they're treating Palestinians like second-class citizens. They're treating them...
It's just like, what are you even getting at? The Muslim world, right, treats Jews like second-class citizens, right? Literally, that's what a dhimmi is, right? An apartheid Sharia. Oh, no, but the Jews are the problem, right? Because Jews, Muslims, and Christians can all live in Jerusalem, right? And do, pray the ways that they want. But in the Muslim world, right, Mecca, the most holy city to Muslims, Jews and Christians can't even go inside. But no, Israel is the apartheid state, right? Israel is the one that is the big problem in the Middle East, right? Even though we were there before any other religion claimed, like any real religion that exists today, Abrahamic religions, right? But no, the Jews are the big problem. Anyway, look, when we look at, so for example, a lot of Christians have this problem with the idea of, I think there's a passage in the Talmud that's frequently mentioned about Jesus and that he's boiling and in excrement, right? And it's a debate as to whether or not Jesus is really being spoken about there. However, what's very important to recognize is that, this should be obvious. Don't Christians believe that Jews are going to burn in an eternal hellfire, right? If Christians are so mad about Jews having animosity toward Jesus, who was a false Messiah, and my entire YouTube channel was devoted to demonstrating why that is, right? Why are you so angry about, the idea of Jesus being also in eternal hellfire for doing the things that he did that were false, right? Assuming that's the same Jesus anyway, right? Which, once again, there's a debate about that. Fair is fair, right? If you believe all the Jews are going to hell, then you're going to really hold us to that standard of like, oh yeah, so we believe that your false Messiah is going. Oh, you can't believe that. Oh, but you believe I'm going to hell. Oh, so that's fine. You have the moral high ground there because you're allowed to believe that I'm going to hell, but I'm not allowed to believe that your false Messiah is in hell. That's fair. That's very moral and just, right? And like I said, I have the receipts to back up what I say. I can demonstrate from the Hebrew Bible that Jesus is not the Jewish Messiah. That's what my whole channel's about. You want to debate me about that? Let me know. I got plenty of videos to put you in your place if you're going to try to get there. But here's what it is. Since this is where, one more thing I wanted to say about the New Testament, right? What I find super ironic here, two things. Number one, in Thessalonians, why are you blaming the Jews for killing Jesus, right? I thought the only way for you to atone for sin was for Jesus to die on the cross. So why is Paul mad at the Jews for quote unquote killing Jesus? You're welcome. You wouldn't have your eternal salvation, atonement, forgiveness if it wasn't for these horrible Jews or Romans or whoever the heck you want to blame for it, because you can't make up your mind. If it's the Jews, you're welcome, because your false New Testament makes the claim that the only way to atone for sin is through the bloodshed of Jesus, which is obviously not what the Hebrew Bible says at all, so you can make up some silly theology about that. Also, here, this Antichrist temple that, everybody says the third temple is some Antichrist temple, and, a lot of the Christians believe that. Why is it saying that the person who's going to oppose it and exalt himself above all that is called God and that he is worshipped, right? It says that this Antichrist is going to set himself up in the temple, right? Sit in the temple of God, showing himself that he's God. Why would the Jews fall for that when literally our whole religion says that the Messiah is not God? That God and the Messiah are not, this piece of excrement literally makes videos where he tries to say that the Messiah is God. You're the one that would fall for something stupid like this, because your religion teaches that the Messiah is supposed to be God. Lahavdil chas v'sholom. Your New Testament tells on itself. It's mind-boggling. Anyway, let's go to the real. So I'm going to use the King James Bible just to appease this cretin's, understanding of what the true Bible is, right? It says it debunks everything, whether I'm using a Hebrew translation or an English King James translation, it says the same, right? Here's Zechariah chapter 8, has nothing to do with Jesus, right? But, this is a reason why the New Testament doesn't quote from this Messianic chapter. It says, "Thus said the Lord of hosts, I was jealous for Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. And thus said the Lord, I'm returned to Zion. I will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, and the mountain of the Lord of hosts, and the holy mountain." Hasn't happened yet, right? Your false Messiah didn't fulfill any of this. "Thus says the Lord of hosts, there shall yet be old men and women dwelling in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand in very old age." This is the future Messianic redemption, right? That Jesus failed to fulfill again. "And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. And it will be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of his people in those days. Should it be marvelous in the eyes of the Lord of hosts? Thus said the Lord of hosts, I will save my people from the east and the country from the west country," right? The ingathering of the exiles, which is what we're all waiting for. "I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. They shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and righteousness." This is what the future Messianic era is going to be like, right? Nothing to do with anything Jesus did, because he didn't do anything. "Thus said the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong. Ye that hear these words in the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the Lord of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. For before these days there was no man for hype." So it's talking about the idea that these days of old will be back. We're going to be back to where we were before, right? And it says, "Thus said the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, the fast of the 5th month, the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th shall be for the house of Judah," the Jews, "for joy," right? "And gladness, and cheerful feasts. Therefore love truth and peace." Christians have no idea what this verse is talking about, because it's not talking about you. It's talking about rabbinic Jews who keep these fast days, right? Which all commemorate the destruction of the temple, right? They were kept in the previous chapter. If you look in Zechariah chapter 7, it explicitly says that the fast of the 5th and the fast of the 7th were kept during the first Babylonian exile, right? "Shall we weep in the 5th month," right? And in the 7th month, right? The 5th month was Tisha B'Av, when the temple was destroyed. But no, these pagan Jesus worshiping Christians claim there is no third temple, and it's going to be some Antichrist temple, even though they're the ones that worship their false Messiah as God. What does the Bible really say? These fasts are going to become festivals of joy, because to this day, rabbinic Jews, according to the Talmud, by the way, we're supposed to continue to fast on these days, because only in the days of the Messiah will we be able to celebrate these days as festivals of joy. But Christians don't even know about these fasts. This barbarian idiot has never heard of them because he's not a part of this, right? You want to become a Jew? You can become one. You can become a part of, oh no, I don't want to have anything to do with the Jews. Well, I offered it to you. And whether or not you like it, let's see what it says in the next few verses. Thus said the Lord of hosts, it shall come to pass that there shall come a people, the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, let us go speedily to pray before the Lord and seek the Lord of hosts. I will go also. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold of the skirt of all languages, of all the nations, shall take hold of the skirt of a Jew, oh no, a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. This isn't Jesus. These are the same Jews from the house of Judah who keep these fasts to this very day. You don't celebrate these fasts as festivals of joy because you don't know what they are. You don't fast on these days because you don't know what they are. But guess who does? Rabbinic Jews who know we fast on Tisha B'Av because we commemorate the destruction of the temple. Why will these fasts be festivals of joy in the future? Because the third temple will be built. And we will be celebrating the festivals that we celebrated before. And I'll give you further proof for this in Zechariah chapter 14, where it says, after all of the nations of the world come and attack Jerusalem, such as yourself, who hates Israel, hates the Jewish people, you don't want to be on the wrong side of this, because at the end of it, it says, it shall come to pass that everyone that is left from all the nations that came up against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and keep the festival of tabernacles. Oh, that festival of tabernacles, the festival booths, that Torah commandment that those rabbinic Jews keep. Guess what? You're going to be keeping it. And it shall be that whoever does not come up to Jerusalem, there shall be no rain and there will be plagues. So, you best get on the rabbinic train, because if you're not, tough luck for you. And the Talmud talks all about this, the Gentiles that don't keep the Festival of Tabernacles properly. So, get ready for it. And this is what the true Messianic age will look like in Isaiah 56. Even them, this is verse 7, it says, even them I will bring to my holy mountain. I will make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For mine house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. Even your false King James Bible testifies to this. A broken clock is right twice a day. So, I hope this video has been a blessing to you all. Please like, share, and subscribe so that we can put this barbarian in his pagan Jesus-worshipping, sad, pathetic excuse of a human place. I hope this video has been a blessing to you all. Shalom Aleichem.